What's good, everybody? Let's chat for a minute. Today was like an amazing Sunday for me. I had so much going on this past week, so many things that were on my mind, and I felt like I was struggling to prioritize my thoughts, different ideas that I had been writing a whole lot of things on my board, just trying to get me together as far as the direction I want my 2020 to go. And just when I felt like I was all inspired and things were going to thrive, suddenly I had this overwhelming, I guess you could say, fear or sense of, no, it's not going to happen for me. So this morning I get up and I go to church and I'm just like, God, I need nothing more than a word. I really need nothing more than a word. And so Pastor has been preaching the series on the miracle of Jesus. But today he simply just wanted to dive in and just, it was so Holy Ghost filled. It was a moment in time where it was like through him, God just stopped to say, V, let me deal with your individual issue in this corporate setting. He didn't have to call me by name. I knew that he was talking to me. And he made this very, very, very profound statement that really just stuck with me. And he said, every decision requires that you come to a crossroad of fear and faith. Now, at first, when he said it, I was just like, okay, where is he going with this? Because I'm thinking to myself, me personally, I've never considered fear to be this big issue. I truly believe that fear is only the absence of courage. It's not an actual thing, but because it lacks something, it exists. Kind of like darkness. Darkness isn't really an actual thing, but because of the absence of light. So I'm like, okay, Pastor, where are you going? Do you really come to a crossroad when you're looking at your decision? And so he followed it up and he said, you're either going to step forward into faith or backwards into fear. But where he dug in and this conversation became personal was he said, some of you have these really great business ideas that, yeah, they're good, but then you're like, am I good enough? How can I do this? Who's going to support me? How am I going to get it financed? And they just be good ideas that you're left with because your why me's push you backwards versus chasing what's in front of you. Now, that for me spoke volume. Because everybody who knows me know that I take pride in doing things that I do well. If I'm not going to do it well and give it 110% of me, I do not want my name on it. And I've been that way for a long time. So when it comes to these ideas, if I feel like I cannot figure out a way to do it well, then I don't want to do it because I don't want my name on it. Which brings me to this really unique thought that I've had. Plan B. A lot of times I find that we put so much thought, so much effort into plan A. And we're looking at, God, you showed me this in a dream. God, you told me this. The prophet spoke this word over my life. God, you said. But when we take our God, you said, versus when we feel like it should happen and it doesn't line up, it's almost like we lose faith that God is going to do it. So we come up with all of these plan Bs. I just want to remind somebody today that if you have a plan B for what God told you, you plan for God to fail you. Say that one more time. If you have a plan B for what God told you, then you plan for God to fail you. The reason why you've allowed your mind to create a plan B is because you do not believe that God is going to do it. That's why I like one of these scriptures that my mom used to tell me all the time when I was younger, but I really didn't get it. She used to say, to every man his own order and in his own season. I'd be like, what that got to do with anything? She's like, apple trees grow at a different rate than orange trees, but they produce fruit. Carrots grow under the ground first, and then you see, sprouts of greenery, but they're still producing. And so now that I'm older, I fully comprehend that just because God said he was going to do it for me does not mean that it's going to happen in the time frame of everything being productive around me. I'm not going to move at the same rate of progress of even the people who I share knowledge with, and it seemed like, wow, God, what happened? I learned this. I gave them the knowledge. I helped them to get things started. And it seems like they're taking the very thing that you showed me and they're able to produce way faster than I'm able to produce. Why? Because if you put hot dogs and chicken and steak on the grill at the same time, just because you put it on there at the same time don't mean that you're going to have the same rate of cooking. Yeah, all y'all went on that grill, y'all went on in that fire at the same time, but boom, them hot dogs came out quick. Boom, that chicken came out. It wasn't as fast as the hot dogs, but it didn't take as long as the steak. So while it seemed like God is moving for everybody else, the value that God has put on your life is not the same value that he's put on the lives of those around you. Does that make them better? Make you better? Give them less value? Give you less value? Absolutely not. It just means that God put something on the inside of you according to the measure of your own faith. So because of how you've been believing God, because of how you've been faithful over the things that God has been doing and the things that God has been saying, it takes a little bit longer for you to get a full manifestation of what God is trying to get out of you, because hot dogs don't keep you full all too long. You pull that hot dog off the grill, but then you got to wait for something else to come off the grill because you're still hungry. So don't be mad that God is taking a little bit more time to deal with you. Because at the end of the day, what you're able to produce is going to be able to bless a lot more people. Is going to be able to stay around a lot longer. It's going to have a lot more nourishment. It's going to be able to carry those around you a little bit further. It is just so crazy when I sit and I think about, God, I just feel like things are taking way too long. It's really only an increase of my patience. It's really only an increase in my patience, because while I sit and wait, I ask a lot of questions. Yes, contrary to popular belief, I question God. I ask God a lot of questions, because where there are no questions, there are no answers. So I ask God a lot of questions, and no, I don't deal with a whole lot of God, why me? I think it's unnecessary to ask God, why me? Why was I chosen for this? Why did I have to go through that? Because I was built for it. That's the honest to God truth. That's the answer to that question. That's what the answer will always be. Because I'm built for that assignment. The things that God has chosen me to go through would have killed others. So I can't say why me. So I have to ask all these other questions. God, what do you want me to learn in this season? God, what is it that's on the inside of me that's not in alignment with the things that you've shown me for my future? God, prune me. God, expose me to me. One of the things that I do not believe, especially when it comes to dealing with quote unquote toxic people, that toxic people are toxic in relationship alone. Is something toxic on the inside of you that brought out something toxic on the inside of them. Now, while it may have gone to another level, it took a little bit of toxic to produce a little bit of toxic. So I be needing to know, God, what's in me that should not be? And then I have to constantly ask God, like, God, do it for me, because I know I can't do it for myself. Create in me a clean heart and renew a right spirit within me. Cause me to be transformed by the renewing of my mind. God, equip me with your thoughts, with your ways, with your patience, with your perseverance, oh God. Oh Father, give me the same strength or the same measure of strength to be able to endure just as Christ did leading up to the cross. Because a lot of, like, one of the things that I really took time to look at, yes, the cross was a lot. It was unbearable. I can't imagine what it's like to be Mary and watch your child have to go through all of this. But let's look at all the events leading up to the cross. Everything that happened to get him to the point of the cross. It's almost like the cross was the big finale. But how did we get here? So on my road, on my journey to success, I have a lot of questions as I go through the process, through the how do I get there? God, what's next? God, what do I need to see? Open doors that no man can close. Close doors that no man can open. One of the things that I tell God on a daily, and I promise you, this is the best thing that I've ever done for myself. I've made this my daily petition. God, whatever's wrong, make it right. Whatever's out of order, set it in order. Whoever have attached themselves to me that would be a hindrance to the will of God for my life, remove them. Even if I'm not strong enough to remove them for myself. Cut sling load, cut ties with people that are toxic to me, toxic for me. God, remove people from my life that'll do me more damage in the long run than good. God, remove things, persons, places, material things from my life that will cause me to deter from the will of God, from my predestined assignment. God, I need you to do it. And I know it's going to hurt. I know I'm going to cry some tears. I know I'm going to have some heartbreak. I know I'm going to be mad. I know I'm going to have my days where I want to curse you out, God. But I'm asking you to do this because even though it hurts right now, the little hurt that it bring me now will be a lot less than the great pain that it'll bring me later if I don't nip this in the bud right now. Have I lost some friends? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've cried over losing some friends, but after I got done shedding those tears and I looked at the direction of my life, I had to say, God, I thank you that they're no longer here, because had I kept them around, they would have been in the way. They would have been in the way. They would have moved me out of the path of what's assigned to me. Had I kept certain people around, I wouldn't be able to help the people that were supposed to come along in my 2020. I wouldn't be able to have the amount of visions, dreams, be able to see signs and wonders the way that I've been able to do because of allowing the right people at the wrong time to consume my time, my energy. Because sometimes you do. You meet the right people in the wrong season of your life. It happens. I know people that I should have been able to grow with and do great things with, but because of the time that I met them, it didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to turn out. So I just had to say, God, cut sling load. And I had to say, God, cut sling load in my prayer closet so that it wouldn't be awkward with just walking away and severing ties. Because one of the things that I've learned about myself is my loyalty is to a fault. Growing up in Ansley taught me to be loyal. I came up in a generation in a different time where you didn't have to be best of friends. If you grew up on our block, if you grew up in our hood, the love was real, the love was authentic. Y'all didn't even have to like each other. Y'all could have got to fighting with each other, could have got to arguing with each other. But if somebody on the outside came to the inside trying to cause confusion, it don't matter what was going on between you guys. All of that got set to the side till you deal with the outsiders. If you was gonna go back to fighting after that, then that's what you did. But you never let what you had going on to overtake the loyalty that you had to one another. Then I joined the military at 17. Great opportunity, great deal of fun. But when it came to dealing with those guys, I learned that this loyalty, one or two things is going to happen. We're going to live or we're going to die. At the end of the day, those are the two options that we have. So then my loyalty shifted and it became life or death. When I got out of the military, I started to bring the principles of the military to regular life. Big no-no. Because regular people don't understand military standards. They don't understand military mindsets. So when I call my different friends that I serve with, we don't have to talk 4 or 5 years. I call them, hey bro, I need you. They moving mountains to get done what needs to be done. And vice versa. The bonds that I share with those guys are like none other. Like, I have 2 really close friends that I met at the age of 17, and they have literally been, I guess you could say, fathers to my son. Like, not only did we grow up together, but we raised our kids together. We've gone through some of the worst heartbreak that one could experience together. We've created great memories together. And it's 15, almost 16 years later. We still talk at least once a week. We still know what's going on with one another's children. We don't even have to talk to each other to have that open line of communication with the kids. We became family. You don't get that everywhere. So because of the way that I live my life from a young age to an old age, I have to be okay with saying, God, remove those things that are not like you. Remove those things that are not for me. Because if I'm not careful, me being me will do me more damage than it would good. What happens when you're loyal to the wrong people? What happens when you put love in the wrong places? It really doesn't mean that people are not trying to be loved or people don't want to be loved. If they don't truly know what love is or have never experienced love, then they'll reject it when you bring it to the table, and it'll create some issues. So, like, as you continue to go through your journey, trust God. Trust God. Like, truly trust God. You have to be willing to say, if I have to go by myself, I'll go. And when they tell you it gets lonely at the top, believe them. Because the further that God takes you into the things of Him, into the manifested glory that He has planned for you, people are going to fall off. Because a lot of people won't be able to handle the weight of the glory of God that's on your life. Trust the process. But even more, trust the processor.